when chiropractic has given so much to me, I feel driven to give back to it. I know I wouldn't be alive if it weren't for chiropractic.
This episode of the Chiropractors Edge is brought to you by Mango Voice. Mango Voice is an enterprise-grade VoIP system based in the cloud. Whether you're at the office or on the go, Mango gives you the tools you need to engage customers like never before. This is a product that my team can't live without, and neither should yours.
Welcome yet again to another podcast for the Chiropractors Edge. I'm your host, Dr. Jake Hansen, and I have with me the king of Mile High, the creator, the founder of Mile High, Dr. Danny Knowles, hailing from Boulder, Colorado. Danny, how are you, my man?
I'm doing well, doing well. Good to see you this morning. I'm always glad to, any time spent with Jake Hansen is time well spent.
Oh man, I sure love and appreciate you, Danny. This is crunch time for us here, especially in Colorado, because we are getting ready for Mile High, and we are on for Mile High 12. My goodness gracious, man, it only gets better every single year. I've only missed 2 Mile High, Danny's. It was my very first year, or your very first Mile High you ever did. That was the first one I ever missed. And then last year I had the honor of speaking at Kairos to Cairo in Egypt, but I was getting updates nonstop, and it was absolutely incredible. We're super excited for this year. So for docs, we are going to have registration down below here. We're going to have it linked ASAP. Mile High truly is a place dedicated for chiropractors who are dedicated to its principles. In preparation for this, Danny, I always ask a lot of our group members, and what would you guys like to know from this person? You know, here's their strengths, here's their qualities, here's what they do. And we had a lot of people ask. So they said, you know, hey, for someone like Danny Knowles, who has a very successful practice, who teaches network, and does so many incredible things out there, how did you create Mile High? Because a lot of people see a need to create something like Mile High in their own states, and several who want to create it as a side gig, as a business. So I'd love to ask you some of these questions here. Why create Mile High? What did you see that warranted something of the nature of Mile High? Because Mile High, I mean, this is a pretty massive movement now.
Well, first of all, let me tackle that question of a side gig. I don't believe in side gigs. I don't think people should do side gigs. I think there's a ton of people doing those right now. They go and say, I'm in practice, but I'm going to do a side gig of XYZ. Don't do side gigs. That's a problem, because the whole essence of the word side gig is doing something because you are not getting enough from the main thing you're doing. I see it over and over. People are failing in practice or barely having a practice, and they say they're going to do something else in addition. They decide they've never succeeded, never seen a lot of people, never made a lot of money, but they're going to be a coach. Or they say that they're in practice, but now they're going to be a guru in nutrition or something like that. They decide to do something on the side of their main thing. That's the problem. Be abundantly successful in practice, where you are overflowing, you think, I can't possibly see anymore. Like, I'm working so hard, I barely get time to sleep and eat. Like, I'm putting so much into it, and there's so many people coming in, it's busting at the walls. Then, and only then, decide from that abundance, I am going to give even more. The side gig is poison. People say I'm going to do a side gig because they're not making enough, and now I'm going to do an MLM. I'm not making enough, so I'm going to teach people to adjust. All of that is ruining your life if you decide to do that. You are already so successful that you're going to do a plus gig. Okay, you have so much abundance. You say, you know what? I have to give more to XYZ. I'm going to become an officer of a national organization or a state organization. I'm going to, help out with a school. There are people that are coming to me, ask questions. I can't see all these people are failing, and I want to help them in this area. But only do it where you're already abundant. I have things that I want to give more to. I was like, this is a need, and I have to give in that area. So Mile High, there was a huge political problem, and it was so frustrating and damaging and to the state, and such a big concern that I had to say, how do I do something about this? And this particular problem, actually, Mile High, year after year, cost me. It cost me a tremendous amount. It's not something we make like an abundance of money from. Like I maybe keep what I'd make in like a couple days in my office, because I work like, 5-10 hours a day on it on top of my practice. It's right. Like to put all it together. It's like especially the last month or two, and it's not something I'm keeping revenue from just to make it the quality that is. Now we give back to lots of things. When we first did Mile, it was just like there was this huge issue with injections with the state board and with Sherman College. I just realized that like the Colorado in itself, the leadership of many organizations was going to expand the scope. Okay, and wanted to expand the scope into injections. And also, Sherman College was tanking. It was tanking financially, and they put a new president in. So I said, well, what can I do? Because I noticed when we tried to get chiropractors together to show up at the Colorado Chiropractic Board relative to some bad issues, which was injection rights, no one showed up. And I was so frustrated because I called, I emailed, I messaged, I texted people, and no one showed up. There was like one person who showed up, Jared Dawson in Fort Collins. He was the only person after all that effort. And I thought chiropractors, are apathetic. And so what I said was, what do they actually show up for? They don't show up like this is a huge battle and they don't show up. And also I noticed there are a lot of people that were coaches, mentors in different areas that actually really helped me. And I looked up to and still look up to, but then I realized, wait a second, they're not on donor lists for colleges. Like this person makes a lot of money, which is good. I'm all about people making abundant amount of money. I like myself making a lot of money. But then when you're like, well, wait a second, they don't give to any state organization. They're not giving, they're not donating to any chiropractic colleges. There's a problem there. They're taking, but they're not giving. So I said, okay, chiropractors, they show up for seminars. Oh, maybe if I have a kick-ass seminar, okay, and have people show up for it, then I could use that as a platform to advise them or tell them to take action and have the speakers do that. So I called up a bunch of my friends, texted them, and I actually kind of said, I had said to, my mom puts on seminars, and, so she has a lot of hotel contacts. And I said to her, I think I want to do this at this hotel and have, programs. And like, she called me like 48 hours later and said, well, I booked the hotel for you. And I was like, what? She said, you got 4 months. And I was like, I had nothing for it. But I was like, in 4 months, I'll put it on somehow because the hotel was there. So I contacted Liam Schubel. So hopefully someone texted Liam Schubel. I contacted Donnie Epstein, which was easy. And they both said yes. I said, well, that's a program. Now I just have to get everybody else. Because I said, if Liam's there and Donnie's there, people will show up and then there'll be more people. And then we use their platform to raise money for Sherman College and tell people to show up at political things. I lost money. For years. I just like, okay, I think we have enough $20,000 to give from this. And I was like, oh, okay, we gave more than we had from the event because it costs more. So it wasn't like a side gig. I want something to make money.
So it's all about your mindset, right? It's all about how you approach something, either from an abundance mindset or a lack of mindset. I mean, that's so critical, Danny. We hear from a lot of our colleagues, the thing that just breaks my heart, it shatters my heart is when I hear them say, oh, I do this. Oh, and chiropractic, and they're chiropractors. We just had a colleague who said he was on a trip with his wife in Mexico. They were having a great time. And as they were sitting down, they sat down, there's only one table left. They sat down with each other. And as they were eating, he goes, oh, so what do you guys do? And he's explaining all of these things. And he goes, oh, that's very interesting. And he goes, well, I'm a chiropractor, but don't worry. I'm not one of those weirdo chiropractors. And so they looked at him and like really funny. And it's like, that's how he had to describe what he was trying to do, this life-changing, life-altering, most abundantly giving thing. And so that breaks my heart when I hear that. So docs, what Danny shared was very, very critical. If you are a chiropractor and you don't practice chiropractic, that is one thing that we can help you remedy to be able to fall in love with chiropractic again. Because guys, if you can't sell chiropractic, if you can't give chiropractic to the masses, you're not going to be able to do soft wave. You're not going to be able to do decompression. You're not going to be able to do 1,001 other things, sleep studies and injections and ozone. And you're not going to be able to do anything else. The Outback Steakhouse is the Outback Steakhouse. They're not the Outback Shrimp House. They're not the Outback Salad House. They're not the Outback Awesome Bread House or the Outback Steakhouse because it's steak. We need to be known as chiropractors. So Danny, I love exactly what you shared. You guys, you need to come from a state of abundance. So Mile High came from a point of no one is stepping up and showing up when they're going to want to put vaccines and injections into our curriculum here in Colorado and to get people to start showing up for that. So you guys, Danny has created a major platform to do that, but it's coming from a state of abundance. So when it comes to truly creating the things that you love and augmenting the things that you love with, let's say, a coaching business, what would be some of the first steps that you've taken that either that were necessary and painstakingly needed, and some of the things that maybe you wish you would have done when starting some of your private coaching businesses and those were your seminars where you give back and you teach?
So the first thing that I'm going to say in answering that is look that way, right
Yeah,
there. Okay. And very important step to that is to be a mile high. You can get all the details, riseup to milehigh.com, but simply see that date and just clear off your calendar, whatever it is, X that out, erase that. You can reschedule it and join us in Colorado. Okay. Because I've had tons of people tell me that three things came out of Mile High. Actually, I might come up with four. One, the most important one relative to your question is that their vision expanded. Okay.
massive.
You need to be around other people and expand your vision. I had been in practice lots of years, seeing where the walls are busting at the seams, and really, and I teach just a little bit for Network because I could teach the approach and be assistant team teacher. So it was like a little bit the rest of my family. But then I was asked to be part of Sherman Board of Trustees, and I showed up at Lyceum. And I was like, wow, look, I forgot what it's like to be around this kind of event with lots of chiropractors and experience community. It expanded my vision by doing that. A, go to Mile High. B, go to Sherman Lyceum. Like I start my year, I say, when's Mile High? When's Sherman Lyceum? Right? And I mark the calendar and I put some other dates, but those are the first two every single year in terms of business. And I go to those every year. I don't need to go to Sherman Lyceum, but I need to go to Sherman Lyceum. I go there to be able to be around other people, and something will happen that will touch my vision and a little bit more. And literally being at Sherman Lyceum was the year that I, like for the first time in whatever, 15 years, was that year that we started Mile High. So you have to do things that help you vision expand.
Yes.
Being at Mile High will do that. Number two, it will deepen your philosophy. So if you're going to do something in addition to your practice, deepen your philosophy so you make sure you're understanding your why. The other thing that comes out of being at Mile High is your business strategies. So you have to increase your business strategies. If you think I'm going to do something in addition to my practice, it's a coaching program or something like that, you better increase your business strategies around people that do that. And then the last thing, you better experience community and connection with people, which also people get out of being at Mile High. And I will tell you, those are the things I would do. Now, after that, when we said we do lifetime wellness practice and we mentor people there, you can learn more about that at lifetimewellnesspractice.com. Myself and Michelle mentor people. Now, in doing that, that's taken different forms over the years. We literally, people knew we were successful. We didn't wake up one day and said, I want to coach people. I actually really don't like the word coaching. I don't like the word mentoring. I'm kind of anti those two words. They're used anybody can be a coach, and you see that, and they don't really have any expertise. I see it all the time. Like they're actually losing money in practice and they're coaching people. First of all, be successful in what you're doing. We, Lifetime Wellness Practice, we were having I was like my phone was connected to my ear. I was having so many phone calls, so many emails. People were asking me, how do you do what you're doing in practice? And I said, I can't just be talking to people all the time. My kids are pulling on my leg to go do something with them. The emails, texts, and phone calls keep coming in. If you want to work with us, let us know. And we did a conference call. It has to be, it doesn't have to. People do all kinds of things. But I recommend it to be that you're already successful in that area and already abundant in that.
For those of you who are listening, so this is both video and audio. So Mile High is this September, so 2024, this September 26th through 29th. And what Danny shared is actually exactly right. You guys, for those who are living in abundance, this is a place that will augment that even more. For those of you who are struggling, for those of you who, and a lot of times, I love it, Danny. I absolutely love it when we go in and people who have been solo practitioners, they're in a small town and they come to these things. And I mean, it is just like they are being renewed, rebaptized, reborn all over again to see their joy and their happiness being surrounded by like-minded individuals. And success does breed success. It does expand your vision. It does solidify your philosophy. And it really allows you to understand what your why really, really is. I will never forget my first Mile Mile High, being surrounded by people that I'm like, I was saying, oh my gosh, this is my home. I was on fire. I'm one of those front seat row guys sitting up front. And as I was talking, I was there front and center, rarely went out in the hallway, rarely went out to grab a drink. Like I just stayed right there, taking notes, writing down my vision. And I see this awesome couple up front. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys, are you getting as much out of this as I am? This is incredible. And I start talking to Rochelle Knowles, and she's like, well, I'm so happy you like it. I'm so glad you love it. And I was like, well, how she's talking sounds different. And I said, so yeah, so do you guys know who Danny Knowles is? Because, you know, it was just the very beginning. And she's like, oh yeah, this is Danny. And you're like, hi, I'm Danny Knowles. I'm so glad you love this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And you guys sat and gave back. That was one of the most beautiful experiences I had, to see people that I'd read about, heard about so much on paper, but to actually meet face to face. But you guys truly have allowed me to have the blessings that I have. All of my business relationships that I have, I've got from Danny Knowles and Rochelle Knowles through Mile High. And so you guys, yeah, so September 26th through 29th, Rise Up to Mile High. We're going to have the link obviously down below. We'll send it out as soon as we get this sent. Danny doesn't have to go to 1,000 seminars every year. He doesn't have to accept speaking engagements, which he does to give back. For those that may not know, Danny, that's why part of why Danny's extra near and dear to my heart, with some of the health challenges and injuries I've had that I've been blessed to be able to go through. Danny also has had several that in most cases, Danny could have easily hung up his hat and just said, you know what, I'm going to just keep the businesses and let someone else run these things. You've been on death's doorstep several times within the past 5 years. Why do you keep going on? Why not have someone else take the reins? What is it that truly drives you and allows you to keep moving forward?
That's a really good question. And I'll tell you this. There's still a lot of subluxated people out there. That's it. There's still a lot of people living at less than their potential. There's a lot of subluxated people. There's no shortage of spines distorted. And there's also a whole lot of chiropractors that have the skill sets to help those people, and they're not doing it to the level that they could. Really, that's it. When something has given so much to you, and Jake, I know you're a spiritual man, and one of the biblical teachings, and I'm going to paraphrase, but one of the biblical teachings I've read is that when something has given so much to you, you give back. Right. So when the Lord has given you so much, you give back. When chiropractic has given so much to me, I feel driven to give back to it. I know I wouldn't be alive if it weren't for chiropractic. Yes, there were surgeons that helped me, and I wouldn't have even gotten to that point. I know the health that my kids have, that they enjoy. I know they would not be as healthy as they are, wouldn't have the life choices they would have made if they didn't have chiropractic care from birth. I know if I hadn't gone down the path of chiropractic school, your choices impact the direction. I would have not ran into my wife, okay? And she had not chosen chiropractic. She would not have ran into me. Choosing those things gave me so much. And then even the little things I've seen when someone like gets off the table and says, you've changed my life. Once I went to a Rockies game, and you and I are going to a Rockies game in a few weeks, and I was buying a hot dog. The guy who was selling the hot dog at the Rockies game said, hi, Danny. And I'm like, hello? And it was a chiropractor. It was a chiropractor that had been to Mile High and knew me from
the guy selling you the hot dog?
Yeah.
Man.
He was working the concession stand.
Man.
And he said, this is just something I do on the weekends or whatever it was. I was very cordial, very friendly, so glad to see you. But it was heartbreaking. Man, there's no shortage of chiropractors that need to help more people. And how could those people be helped that would not, like there are thousands and thousands around me in my homes next to us in our town that don't get chiropractic care, you know? So right. there's not like a glut of chiropractors. If everybody woke up tomorrow, if people woke up and said, oh, wow, I got to get chiropractic care, we couldn't handle that. And if you see chiropractors that are bartenders, are driving Uber, selling hot dogs, and not that there's anything wrong with any of those things, or I know what it's like to not have enough money to meet your mortgage where there's like more month than there is money. Like I know that experience. I know the pain around that. Yet, at the time when you have the most powerful healing art in the history of the planet in your hands, and you're consistently not growing, that there's something with you that has to shift and change for you to be able to give more, that's what continues to drive me.
My gosh. I mean, So much right there. You got, can you guys hear that? I want to point out a couple of things. I was there, you guys, when Danny was strapped to 50 cords poking out of him. Danny had just done like 200 push-ups, 100 pull-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, and I get a call from Rochelle saying Danny's in the hospital. It's like, Danny get in an accident? Because I just saw Danny post that he just like, I mean, he was invigorating. Danny was inspiring others. No, Danny's in the hospital. Something with his heart. And I remember rushing to the hospital and watching you on the phone from the hospital bed, talking about Mile High, talking to doctors, talking to your children. You were quarterbacking and coordinating what people needed to do to better their lives so they could receive chiropractic. I had had a pretty traumatic brain injury, and I was trying to figure out my way. I was trying to figure out, how do I still reach? Because it has to come from that drive. It has to come from that. There are people who are subluxated, who are living life. Subluxation is a detriment to people's health. It destroys people's health. It does not allow them to stay connected. It disconnects them. They are living at dis-ease. And to be able to understand that from a point where that is what is so critical, that he wants his loved ones being checked. Danny got checked multiple times, and we were able to see miracles and upon miracles with Danny. You guys, that's really what it comes down to. I hope you guys can understand. You need to come from a state of abundance in whatever you choose to do. I have 16, businesses. I have several things that I do. In my chiropractic office, I do chiropractic. That's exactly what I do. People ask, what do you do? I'm a chiropractor. It is so important to understand. There's only about an 18-inch space between here and here. It's so critical that you guys understand that when life gets challenging, physically, emotionally, when there's more month than, how did you put it? There's more month than money. Is that?
More month than money.
More month than money. You have to come from those states of abundance. For those of you who are struggling in chiropractic, don't question chiropractic. There are people like Danny that know exactly what they're doing, and they have found a way, and they have found an energetic, life, awe-inspiring way to live and to practice in a state and land of abundance. That is why I started the Chiropractors Edge. My number was, I had about 1,400 emails, text messages, Facebook messages, phone calls of, dude, you just spoke where? You guys were just where on vacation? Or wait, you just posted what? How many people were we able to see in a day? And how many people are there? And it was just questions after questions. And I said, we've got to create something to help these docs to be able to have the joy that we're able to have. Danny, thank you so much for teaching us about how the words we use are really critical. Thank you for teaching me how to grow my philosophy at Mile High, how to not only understand what vision is, but how to find my vision for what is actually possible. You guys come to Mile High, come meet Danny.
What I said about people, not living a life of the calling they received yet, it's not their fault. The schools have not equipped people to understand chiropractic philosophy or communication or to run a business. The schools have failed at that area. And the educational system of the NBCE, the CCE, all of that stuff has failed all of that and failed people, which means you may do the things that we talked about while you're like, I need money to pay the bills. And you have to go in a direction of seeking out what will help you be successful. And successful, we're talking about being more impactful to the lives around you. Go to Mile High. Go to Mile High, get help from others, because you did not get it in school for the majority, sadly. So don't take what myself said or what Jake said as like, oh, you screwed up. You didn't. You followed a calling to do something that somehow lit you up. Or maybe it was just like something just spoke to you that this is the direction for you. And then you're not living a life worthy of that calling. Then you need to, seek out that, because you didn't get it in school. So don't take any of that as, man, I screwed up. I made the wrong career choice, or I'm a failure, or any of that. Don't do that. Just get help, get assistance,
Yes.
Reach out and call in help. There's lots of chiropractors that would be glad to assist you, and you'll find a lot of them at Mile High.
That's absolutely right. Danny, thank you for coming from a state of love as well, from a position of love. The reason why Danny and I are up at 6 a.m., when we've got a day, Danny and I are doing a podcast at 6 a.m. I guarantee you Danny was up at 4 or earlier because
I was working out, trying to finish my workout to get to this. So
but guys, the reason why
yeah,
we
and
do
I gotta
this.
say, it was a lot of sit-ups, but I don't have a six-pack abs yet, so I got to figure that out. Get a coach for that.
You guys, we're here because we love you. We're here because we love chiropractic. That is why we're here. We want to help you. The fastest way to get to any destination is to ask someone who's already there for directions. The fact that I'm sitting there at my first Mile High talking to this incredible couple and finding out it is the founders of Mile High, and to have them come from a state of love, a state of absolute humility,
I
and
so enjoyed that
asking,
conversation.
yeah, and asking, what can we do to help you? Tell us about you. I've never had more people because I see how Mile High is run. There's 1,000 moving parts, and for someone to take that time, how can we help you? What are you struggling with? What pain points do you have? Where are you at in your practice? Do you have your own practice yet? And at that point, I didn't have my own practice. It was my dream, and to be able to help to make that be able to happen was in much gratitude to Danny and Rochelle and all the other connections we had. You guys come to Mile High, come support with us, come rejoice with us, come break bread with us. It is an experience that will change the way you think. It will augment, it will improve, and make your life even better. Danny, and the question I was asked before, you answered. It was to the doc who's downtrodden, to the doc who's struggling. You answered it. It's not your fault. So many I'm blessed to be able to have what I had. Now that I support Sherman College, I see, oh wow. So I did get chiropractic, but man, I wish I'd have had this application of chiropractic. So support those who support what you love. And if you can give your time, your talents, your treasures, give that even more because this profession needs you more today than it ever has. Your community needs you more than it ever has. And Danny, thank you for being the one to step up and stand up and to rise up. And that's why, guys, we invite you to rise up to Mile High, rise up to the calling that you've been given to be a chiropractor. And we will ride this together. We will change lives. We will change and transform health in this country. Danny Knowles, brother, I love you. I love you dearly. I know I can count on you for anything. Doc, for those of you, we'll have Danny's information down below. Come meet us. Come break bread with us at Mile High. Danny, thanks for being on the show today. And I can't wait to see where this Mile High and the future years take us.
Thank you so much, my friend. So great to see you. So great to see the impact that you're making.
Love and appreciate you, Danny.